It's been over 2 weeks since I got off the Appalachian Trail, and now I think it's time to go on my first hike. So I came to my local trails today. I'm in the Belknap Range. I don't exactly know what I'm hiking. There's Gunstock, Belknap, and Piper Mountains. Might do one of them, might do all three. We'll see how it goes. It is pretty warm out, but I have all day, so I'm just gonna enjoy it. I am starting off by climbing Piper Mountain, and the purpose for this YouTube video is to explain a lot of the differences between my through hike of the Appalachian Trail in 2021 and my through hike this year. Or I'm gonna call it a through hike. I did 90% of it, and I'm gonna do the last 10% of it this fall. It's really interesting doing the same exact trail twice. Yes, it's the same exact trail, but I had two completely different experiences, and there's a lot of different aspects about the hike that were also super different. So I want to talk all about that in this video. So I asked on my Instagram stories what topics you wanted me to cover for this video, and some of the suggestions were my pace, my 0 days, hiking with someone else versus by myself, the weather, my financials, my gear, other people on trail, adjusting back to trail life, my food, and I think that's all of them, so we're gonna try to cover it all. So how fast I was doing the through hikes is actually really similar between the 2 years. So for example, in 2021, I got to Damascus on day 30. This year I got to that point on day 28. And then I got to Harper's Ferry on day 59 for both of my through hikes. And then in 2021, I got to New Hampshire on day 94. This year I got to New Hampshire on day 95. So as you can see, very similar. This year I was always just a day or two away from where I was on trail at that point on the last through hike. But I think the biggest difference here is how many miles I was doing each day. So I'll put on screen my top 5 biggest days from each through hike. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a difference. My biggest day in 2021 was 45 miles. My biggest day this year was 28.2 miles. I feel like in 2021, I was hiking really big mile days, but I was taking 0 days to recover from them. Whereas this year, I feel like my mileage was much more consistent. And I like it better that way. I think that was really good for me. Now, if we're comparing 0 days, I took 9 0 days in 2021 and 6 0 days this year. I really went into the through hike this year not wanting to take as many 0 days because I kind of wanted to just go. I was actually trying to do the through hike faster this year, but obviously that didn't end up being the case, and I'm totally fine with that. I took a 000 this year to go and run the Delaware Marathon, and that was already planned. But then besides that, I took 1 0 day to wait out a really bad storm in the Roan Mountains, and I took 2 0 days once I got to New Hampshire because, as you probably could have seen, I was pretty upset and just not mentally strong enough to continue hiking. So I can confirm that after 2.5 weeks of not hiking, I lost my trail legs. I'm only 1.5 miles into the hike, and it is a struggle. So a total game changer for me on this year's through hike is that I stayed hydrated using Element, and they do sponsor my videos. They are sponsoring this one, but I would be drinking this even if they weren't. I had the Element packets in my backpack my entire through hike, and they really were a lifesaver. So this is a packet of Element. It's an electrolyte drink mix. They come in these single serving packets, and it is a science-backed formula for the most optimal hydration. It's got the perfect balance of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, so I would stay energized on the trails. I wouldn't get headaches caused by dehydration. It really helped me out there. So I saw recently that they came out with a new grapefruit flavor, and as soon as I saw that, I asked if they could send me some, and they did. So this is what we're trying on today's hike. That is good. So whether you're through hiking, day hiking, just living normal day-to-day life, this is definitely something I recommend. Like I said, science-backed formula, doesn't have any sugar, doesn't have anything you don't need. If you want a sample pack with 8 of their super fun flavors to try, you can use my link on their website, which is drinkelement.com/NewHampshire. If you use that link and make a purchase, they will send you a sample pack with the 8 flavors so you can try them all. So you can pick up some grapefruit flavor, it's the new one, and then you can try 8 other fun flavors using my link. drinkelement.com/NewHampshire. So I just stopped for this little water break. I'm going to continue on to Mount Whiteface. Haven't been on that mountain in a while. And then we'll get on to some more comparisons. I think that is where I'm going. Comparing my 2 through hikes really isn't my favorite topic because I don't really like comparing them. They were 2 great experiences and they were just so different. Like, I don't want to say one hike was better than the other. But I am going to continue on this video. I think the biggest thing that people want me to compare is the difference between last time hiking the whole thing with a friend and this time hiking it by myself. So if you don't know, last through hike I met Cody on the 5th day and we ended up hiking most of the trail together, which was so fun. I honestly think that hiking with Cody really kind of distracted me from how tough the trail was mentally. I feel like we were just in our own little hiking bubble. Like, I never really even thought of the outside world, and it was just such a nice, fun distraction for me. I don't really think I had time to let my mind wander about feeling homesick or, you know, about how tough everything was. So I think that really helped. I feel like this year hiking by myself, I really did have all this extra time and silence to really let my mind go, like, wander and really think about how much I missed home and how bad the rain sucked and all that. So I wasn't as distracted, I wasn't laughing as much, and maybe just letting my mind wander and having that solitude caused that breakdown in New Hampshire. But who really knows? But with Cody, I definitely felt like we were in just a little bubble and the outside world wasn't a thing at all. So yeah, my mind kind of wandered a lot with all the time I was hiking by myself. But most of the time I actually did really enjoy the solitude. It was just like really calming and relaxing, just having that much alone time. I got really comfortable and I actually really enjoyed going to restaurants and bars by myself, checking into hotels by myself. It was just like so stress-free. And I'm not saying Cody was stressful, it was fun. I feel like I have to keep saying that. But yeah, just doing the whole hike by myself, making all my own decisions, not having to like talk to anyone about like different plans. It was just really easy to like navigate. Also, something I really liked about having a hiking partner is that I never had to worry about camping by myself. So when I did the whole trail with Cody, we always had someone to camp next to, whereas this year there were quite a few times I stealth camped or camped by myself, or I'd be walking up to a shelter nervous about if someone was going to be there or not and who was going to be there. But it was just super, like, I felt super at ease always knowing that I was able to camp next to Cody. That I feel like is probably the biggest difference, is that I kept getting nervous camping by myself, but every time I did do it, I felt stronger and better and more capable with myself. So yeah, There's just a big difference. So if we're comparing gear between the two Thru-Hikes, it is pretty different. I had a whole new big three going into this year. So I had a new backpack, new sleeping bag, new tent. But I mean, it was just little differences, little changes to kind of lighten my base weight. I don't think I ever actually calculated my base weight or weighed it without my food and water, but I'm assuming it was a little lighter this year. I did switch from a 2-person tent to a 1-person tent just because I felt like I had more backpacking experience and I didn't really need the extra room in my tent to lay out my gear. I switched from a 10-degree sleeping bag to a 20-degree sleeping bag, and I switched to, the new Hyperlight backpack because a new one got released before the Thru-Hike and I was excited to try it. So those are the big gear differences. Also, my hiking outfit. This year I basically did the whole trail in that sun hoodie, which I absolutely loved. It was the Astro Man, I think, from Outdoor Research. I'll link it below if you want to check it out, but I don't think I could do a Thru-Hike without that shirt or something similar. The sun shirt just really saved my butt because I remember the last couple days going into Damascus, I got so burnt. I might do a whole video on all the gear changes I made between the two Thru-Hikes, but yeah, that was just kind of the main differences right there. I made it to Whiteface Mountain and the breeze feels so nice. I don't know if it's too windy to talk up here, but I'm gonna try. So the next topic is finances. So how much money did I spend on my Thru-Hikes? I made a very detailed video in 2021 about exactly how much money I spent on that Thru-Hike and the categories, and I broke it up by month and everything. So I will link that video down below. I did track my spending on the Thru-Hike this year, but only for the first 2 months, and then I stopped. Every time I spent something, I would enter it into the notes section of my phone and I was keeping track of it. But I stopped doing it in the middle of May because I realized I was spending a lot of money, and I realized I didn't really want to make a video this year about how much money I spent, and I didn't want the idea of me making that video change how much I was spending. I just kind of wanted to do what I want. And the fact that I had family visit me so often on trail this year, I was getting a lot of nice hotel rooms. I was spending a lot of money. That little side trip to Delaware was pretty expensive, and like I didn't know if I should count that because it was technically on my Thru-Hike, but it was technically like a little mini vacation. But just to keep things easier, I stopped tracking how much money I spent. But I do have the data from the first couple months on trail, and if we average it all together, I was spending about $70 per day on the trail this year. So if I continued the trend of spending $70 a day, the whole hike this year would be about $8,500, which is a lot. It's higher than average. I just really wanted to go into the Thru-Hike doing whatever made me happy, and if the restaurants were making me happy, the hotel stays, the town stays, all that, I was not gonna cut back. So I'm fine with the $8,500 this year compared to last time. I don't remember, but I'll put it on the screen. So yeah, there was a little bit of a big difference on the Thru-Hike when it came to how much I spent. Now it's time to turn around and head back to my car. I actually can't go, oh my God, there's a bug on the lens. Can you see that? I can't go much further because I actually forgot to charge my phone last night, so I don't want it to die before I get back to my car. I'm getting flashbacks to the AT. At least these big puddles you can walk around. Alright, I made it back to my car. That ended up being a 6-mile hike, which is actually further than I originally thought I was gonna do, so I'm really happy with it. First hike, post-trail. Beginning was a little rough, but it ended up feeling really good. The next thing I want to compare between the two Thru-Hikes is food. And I'm not gonna lie, I ate pretty poorly on both Thru-Hikes. But I definitely think I tried to be a little bit better on this through hike. I definitely tried to eat in town more and have more real meals rather than eating more on trail and just like protein bar after candy bar and all that stuff. So I ate as much as I could in town, so I think that helped. I also this year started eating better breakfasts. I think in 2021 I was more team Pop-Tart for breakfast. This year was more oatmeal in the first half, and then later on I switched to bagels and peanut butter, which I think are both great breakfasts, and that really set me up for a better day. I was feeling full longer in the morning, whereas on the last through hike, if I had like a Pop-Tart in my tent in the morning, I would eat a Snickers bar like 30 minutes after that because it really didn't do much for me. So I think I made better choices. And then aside from breakfast, my snacks were a little better. I was having more beef jerky, like trail mix, and some healthier snacks throughout the day. On the first through hike, every day I needed some sort of chocolate and candy. And yeah, I did have a decent amount of chocolate and candy this year, but I definitely didn't crave it as much. So I think that was better. This year I also introduced cold soaking couscous later on in the hike, and I'm really happy with that decision. I think that's definitely something I'm going to continue doing in the future. And then for dinner, for both through hikes, I really just had the dehydrated backpacking meals. Basically every night I camped, unless I night hiked and it got pretty late, I'd just settle for a bowl of ramen, but that was pretty similar with both years. Next, I'll compare the weather between the 2 years. Obviously, the weather this year kind of sucked with the amount of rain I got. I think I got lucky in 2021 with rain. I really didn't experience much at all, especially rain day after day after day. That didn't happen. I feel like in 2021, if it did rain, it'd rain for a couple hours and then it'd be fine for like the rest of the week. But this year it rained at some point every single day towards the end once I got into New England, and it would rain all day, all night, and there were barely breaks. So that was a huge difference. But like temperature wise, I feel like it was pretty similar. And then both years, I think the bugs were equally as bad. It might have seemed worse on the last through hike, mostly because the most bugs I saw was in the 100-mile wilderness last time, and I didn't make it that far this year yet, so I guess I didn't experience like the worst of it. But also it rained so much this year, and when it was raining, I didn't see as many bugs. I was either getting like one or the other, so I'm gonna head home real quick. I only have one more category I need to compare, and that's other through hikers on the trail that I saw. Now when I came to the amount of other through hikers I was seeing on the trail, I feel like there were more through hikers in 2021, and my theory for this is that I think more people kind of learned about the Appalachian Trail or got interested in the trail in 2020 when we were all kind of at home doing nothing. So then the next year people went out. That was actually Cody's story. And it was also because of the amount of people that didn't hike in 2020 like me that then did it the next year. So it was kind of like double the years into one. So I feel like there were more people in 2021. When I was talking to hostel owners this year, a lot of them said their numbers were down in 2023. So who knows? I just think there were less people on the trail this year. But at the same time, I did put a lot more effort into meeting other hikers this year because I was by myself. So when I did come across a tramily, I really did talk to them and hang out with them and get to know them a lot more than if I was just hiking with Cody. So I was meeting more people, but I just think there were less people out there. In 2021, since I started in February and kind of kept a quicker pace, by the time I got to New England, I was barely seeing any other hikers. There were just like a couple groups that we would leapfrog here and there. But I think this year, starting a little bit later, by the time I got to New England, there were still plenty of other hikers on the trail, so that was good. But overall, I don't think there was a huge difference with how many other hikers I was running into on the trail. And then obviously once I got to Maine, I didn't see like anyone else. just a handful of sobos, but I think that's because the weather was just awful. So that was a lot of comparing and contrasting Med 2 Thru-Hikes. I covered a lot, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.